It's Speaking with Gravity, and I'm Curvin.
I'm Steve Coleman.
I'm Courtney Smith.
Joshua.
And I'm Dee.
And we are a mental health podcast that explains how everything affects everything, especially your mental health. So today, we're going to get right into it. We on location, so to speak.
New location.
Yeah. We had a little some happenings that happened at the office a couple of weeks ago. And so, we talked about it, discussed it, and said, let's go on location at different spots or whatnot. And this is one of the first ones. So we're going to see how it goes and go from there. But today, we're talking about mentorship. So I brought in two guests, and I'm going to give them an opportunity to kind of introduce themselves. Typically, I would go with the person that's right next to me. But I got a feeling that he gonna try to hog the mic. So
oh man!
I'm gonna go ahead with Courtney. Courtney, you introduce yourself, and then we'll come back to Steve.
Wow, man, you hit it right on the head, Kurt. Well, I'm Courtney Smith. I'm one of the co-directors for Models Academy here in Greenwood. Also, I work out at Piedmont Technical College, teaching the criminal justice division out there. I've also been in law enforcement for 16 years now. Reside here in Greenwood, hold a master's degree, and currently working on a doctoral degree.
Oh wow! Congratulations on that. That's big.
Soon, and just chilling, man. Just being that dad and kids running around and keeping me busy.
All right.
Love it.
All right, Steve, you got the floor.
I'm good now?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Give them 2 minutes.
I'm Steve Coleman. I'm director of Models Academy at Piedmont Technical College. I guess you would call me a lifetime educator. I've been in higher ed for almost 30 years now. And I'm also director of college outreach at Piedmont Technical College. I got a bunch of degrees that nobody really cares about.
Congratulations on yours too.
Yeah. And I just have a passion for our young men in our community and trying to make a difference in the lives of African American males. And that is the genesis and the platform for Models Academy.
Okay. So just kind of so we chug along here. We have what we call Twitter discussions on our episodes, and we'll pick up something that's related to the episode, and we'll speak on it. Josh, you want to kind of read this one, and then we'll come back with our insight on it.
Most definitely. Twitter discussion of the day. Advice. Everybody can benefit from this, but Black students and young professionals especially, please reach out for help, advice, opportunities, and mentorship from Black professionals you admire. Your white counterparts are not hesitating to do just this.
And that was a tweet from a young lady. I can't remember her name at this time. And when she said white counterparts, I want to make sure we're not here to separate, divide, division, right. All that stuff. But the fact of the matter is, stuff is happening, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was her way of explaining it. But as I read that, I thought about myself in my own career. I can't say that I actually called somebody and reached out to them. And all of us here kind of got varying degrees of careers and different things that we're doing. How do y'all feel about that statement just in general?
Well, when I think about the white counterparts part, I think that's important still because you need someone who relates to your experience.
It's
fine, having someone, a white counterpart that you, not white counterpart, but having someone who relates to your experience. So reaching out to Black professionals,
okay.
Reaching out to those who've been where you've been as well, mm-hmm. But that do look like you, I think is important. Now, it's also to diversify is also important as well. So having others of different races, that have been through what you've been through, that's good as well. That'll be helpful. But context is important as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And relevant. So it's certain things, when you talk about the Black experience, being Black, that someone who's shares that same culture, some of those same values that come along with your culture, they can probably speak to certain things that that others may not be able to.
Do y'all think people are reaching out?
No. I
make it
don't.
simple, right?
I don't. People don't reach out because they're scared to be, quote unquote, labeled as soft. To be labeled as weak-minded. I got to reach out for help. I can't do it on my own. But the nature of the beast is that everybody needs help. Everyone needs some type of mentorship, that you believe it or not. But I believe they're not reaching out because of that right there. They don't want to seem weak. They don't want to seem simple-minded.
And vulnerable.
Yes. And so that's why I think.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, and I'm gonna come back to you, Steve. So get ready. But even with myself, I think about the fact that, again, with this career, I've never reached out to anybody on my own. If I see somebody in passing, I'm talking to them, I may say, "Hey, let me get your number. I'm gonna call you." I don't never do. And then in the same token, I realize that that's probably one of the things that's holding me back from even more success, because I don't know what I don't know. And the only way to try to figure that out is, you can listen to podcasts like this one, or you can try to read books, but you still need, like you say, that experience. There's, somebody that's been there before you can tell you X, Y, Z better to me than you can get it out of a book, if that makes sense. Like when you say people not reaching out, Steve, with you being an educator and being in higher education, have men or people that look like you call you and say, "Hey, man, how do you get into this? How do you take these steps?" Because you've been able to, quote unquote, advance and do a lot of different things. Have anybody ever just reached out for you?
Absolutely. One of the mantras that I've heard over my life that I found to be unequivocally true is that pride is a double-edged sword. People cheat themselves because they're too proud sometimes to ask someone for help, because asking for help sometimes is perceived as vulnerability. People don't want to be judged. And oftentimes, if you're asking someone to mentor you or to help you, you have to open up that book, which is yourself, and share your good, share your bad, and sometimes the inequities that people feel or inefficiencies that they have in their daily life and professional life. They don't want to expose those things because they don't know how people are going to perceive them. Probably the impetus for me has always been, I've never hesitated to ask someone for help, and I've never been embarrassed about anything that I've done, to the point where if it's wrong and it's not leading me in the right direction, then for God's sakes, let me find somebody that can help me do this. Even when I was an undergraduate student, I reached out to a gentleman that was our director of, Mr. George Williams was one of my first big-time mentors outside of my family, away from home. My dad was outstanding. My uncles, cousins, people like those people were outstanding. I've been blessed in that way. But I reached out to Dr. Williams because I was on a campus of Stetson University where, outside of the African Americans on the basketball team, the one that was on the baseball team, and the handful that were just students on campus, I was in an all-white campus. Mr. Williams was a black male. He was the only black male that I knew on campus at that time. So I went to him and said, "Listen, I'm an 18-year-old freshman from Newberry, South Carolina. Help me navigate this place," because I was lost. I'd never been away from home that far, that long. And he became a mentor for me through undergraduate school, through athletic events, through personal trials that I might have had as a young student and struggling to become a man. Then we had another faculty member, Dr. Patrick Coggins, that came aboard as one of the instructors, one of the professors, and one of the first black professors on campus. And I reached out to him and said, essentially, "Hey, bro, I want to be like you. I want to be like you. How can I be like you?"
And when you were saying, "I want to be like you," did you know, like, I want to be in higher education, or you were just saying, "I want to be, quote unquote, successful"? or did you know what you was asking for?
I wanted to be the type of man he exuded.
Okay.
I wanted to have the type of influence that he exuded on campus. And what I was keenly aware of is that our institution, he was the only African American faculty member on campus. But I was well aware that he walked with a purpose on that campus. He came in, he was unabashed, he was just straightforward, and he came and got it. He just took it. And that impressed me. And I wanted to have that kind of experience in my own life. And I learned a lot from him along that line. And I asked him questions like, if I want to be you, what do I do? You got to get your bachelor's, you got to get your master's, you got to seek your PhD, you've got to do these sorts of things. You need to get yourself involved in this community type of organization. You need to position yourself appropriately so that you will at one point or at some point in your life have a voice that's listened to. And here we are. You know, I've always had that. And that's why we're able to do, and it instills confidence in you. You know, starting a program like Models Academy takes confidence.
Yeah.
Because you know there are going to be people that say, well, you're just going to start an organization just for black males? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Are white males going to be involved? No, it's for black males.
There's purpose behind it.
And there's a purpose behind it, absolutely, sir.
So 50% of students reported they didn't, that's the QD at our 50% of students reported they didn't know how to find one. When we're talking about mentorships. And it's funny that you was talking about it. Like, I think sometimes we think too much into it. Like, who did I go to? What did I say? What did I ask? And you was just like, I see this, I'm gonna go holler at them. So again, we talked about mentorship to kind of get Dee in here. She ain't said nothing in about 10 minutes. Can you just introduce the episode to us, and then, you know, we go from there.
All right, so too often people feel intimidated by experts and shy away from asking for mentorship. Mentorship is not a burden for mentors, quite the contrary. It is a deep, meaningful experience for the mentor. The value of mentorship goes well beyond the benefit to the mentee. While the voices of mentors are not often heard, their legacies live on in every mentee's life through their legacy tree. And this was an excerpt from the article written by Deborah Heiser.
From Psychology Today. So what is, and anybody can answer this, but what is mentorship to y'all? What is mentorship, and is there an age limit for it, like when you're seeking it out?
There's no age limit. I don't care how old you get. I have often referenced that it doesn't matter how old a person is. You always need mentorship. I did a post on Facebook a while back, and it was talking about parenting. And you look at it, and I simply titled it as, "When do parents stop being a parent?" And you never. And even with, you know, both of my parents are deceased, and of course my dad was my hero, he was my Superman. He's still teaching me until this day. How he's still teaching me? Because he's teaching me the things that he instilled in me, and I can carry that on through my boys, and hopefully they carry it on through their kids. So, you know, for us mentorship, there's no age limit. It never stops, because you getting that instilled in you, and it's embedded in you, so it got to come out. Because you're going to find yourself in a situation where, boom, you're going to think, golly, that's what my dad said, that's what my mom said, or that's what my professor said. So you relaying that back to those you are mentoring. So it's like a circle that never is broken to me.
Steve, because you started a whole program.
Yeah, we started a whole program.
My bad.
Listen, every one of us is a microcosm of the people that poured into our lives. There's not a single one of us that hasn't been mentoring. Mentoring starts at birth. Your mother, your father, your auntie, your uncle, those are the people that began molding you from the earliest stages of your life. I look at my grandson now, and I see him do things that I do with my hands when I look at him and I say, hey, Jared, ah. And now he'll come up to me and he'll be like, ah. And the point in that is we're all mirroring behavior. And if you're lucky enough to have people in your life that are willing to pour into you in that manner, we have to be willing to accept it. Steve Coleman didn't just become Steve Coleman. Steve Coleman is a mashup of Eugene Coleman Sr., of Danny Shales, Michael Shales, Robert Shales, Billy Shales, of David Caldwell, of Collier Caldwell. These are all my big cousins, guys that I looked up to. They were athletes. I wanted to be an athlete. So I hung around them everywhere they went. I have aunts and that were really strong people. That's another misperception. Sometimes people have the perception that mentoring is only same-sex mentoring. Some of there is not a person on this earth that will ever surpass Frances Coleman, a woman, as my greatest mentor. She taught me more about being a man, or as much about being a man as anyone possibly could have, other than my father, who was the man. So one of the things about mentoring that we have to get over is sometimes we feel like it's embarrassing to ask for help, or it's a weakness to ask for help. When in essence, having the ability and the confidence to ask for assistance is one of the most powerful strengths you can have.
Yeah, whenever I go into a store, I'm always asking for help first.
You don't read.
That's not look, that's not traditional mentorship, but I say that to say, hey, if somebody else can tell me where to go quicker than, without me having to bump my head, to find out, then my girl used to ask me, like, why you always asking somebody, you like to talk, don't you? No, I like to know.
Right.
And then I like to know, right?
Yes.
I like to know. And how quicker, to me to get to that point than, having somebody guide me, I think one thing about people being afraid to speak up and say, hey, I need a mentor, hey, I need guidance. A lot of times, the people who they should ask, there may be a disconnect in there, Maybe they may be going on a different path, you know what I mean? So I feel as though if we do want to be good mentors, we have to do things like what you all are doing, inserting ourselves into the people's lives who we see that we need to impact, who we need to put on a better route. So I think that's an important part about leading, I would say, the youth to a better future is, inserting yourself, not being afraid to insert yourself and engaging with them. Because there are differences there. That's why they don't want to, they might not want to come to you and connect. So you have to kind of insert yourself in there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can be intimidating.
Yeah.
Again, like I said earlier, I'll speak to somebody and I'll get their contact number, then I won't follow up. But it can be intimidating when somebody appears to have the success that you aspire to have, and it's like, okay, how do I talk to them? And I like what you said about inserting yourself more or less into their life. And I also like something that you said about we're all mirroring, I can't say the word like you said it, behavior.
Right.
That being said, if we're all mirroring behavior, how can we be intentional about inserting ourselves? Like, on one hand, you along with others have created a mentor program, but everybody can't create a mentor program. Right. So individually, how can we kind of insert ourselves and put ourselves out there so people can be able to role model and mirror us?
Let me add a caveat to what I just said. Just last week, I had a huge decision to make about Models Academy in terms of one of our branch programs in another county. And I was sitting in the car saying to myself, I need to just go ahead and make this decision because it's getting on my nerves. You know how we, in that colloquial term, it's just getting on my nerves. And here I am, people that know me know that, Steve will just make a decision. and live with it. If it's right, it's right. If it needs to be added to, I'm never one that hesitates to be able to do those things because I'm comfortable walking that way. But here I am having to make a decision about my program, and I was at an impasse. So I picked up the phone and I called a lady named Rita Sadler, who was one of my teachers and somebody I've known growing up. And this decision had to do with an education-related program that's part of the Models program. And I asked her, I gave her the scenario, and she said, Steve, that's a no-brainer. Go ahead and make that decision. I support that 100%. I don't think you would be off script to do that at all. And I made the decision, not simply because I felt like, but I felt like I needed to vet it with someone. So I called a mentor. I'm 54 years old, dog. I don't, you would think that mentoring is through for me, but nah.
Oh, no.
There's still people I call
Yes.
when I have conversations that I need to have. I get mentored by Courtney. I'll call Courtney and say, Court, man, what you think about this? And Court might say, nah, bro, we don't want to do that.
Courtney's your conscience.
Courtney's my Pastor Christopher B. Thomas, because they know I'm just a go get it guy, and I need people to sometimes throttle me back. And I'll tell Courtney, how many times have we met? And I said, Courtney, this is what I'm gonna do, man. And Courtney will say, hey, bro, we might want to find a different way for you to approach that. I agree with you, but you don't want to do it like that. That's how life is, right? All of us are go-getters. All of us are goal-oriented. We're driven. We have things that we're passionate about.
When you say all of us, are you talking about all of us here at this table, or are you talking about everybody in the world?
In its truest form, every individual wants something.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Every individual wants something. The priority is not for you or I to try to figure out what it is that someone else wants. It's for the person who is the person in need to figure out what it is they want and how they can go get it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And I want to say also with inserting yourself, as a potential mentor to someone, I think it starts with showing interest, in that person.
Yeah. Okay.
And showing interest, and then after you get that interest, after they understand that interest, then showing expectation, giving them expectations. I think one of the biggest things my dad did for me was place expectations on me, right? And that's my first mentor, right? My father. And in most people's lives, your parents probably gonna be your first mentor, right? But and my daughter said something to somebody else a couple weeks ago. She said, I don't want to quit. She's in this program. She's doing really good. But sometimes she be tired. She get a little lazy. Kids. She said, but I don't want to quit because I know what my dad will think of me.
Wow.
Now that
makes you feel good,
it sounds kind of like pressure a little bit too.
Yeah.
But I like it though.
Right.
Because that's saying she's holding herself to a standard.
Right.
That you've helped establish.
Right.
Right. So that expectation, I think, is an important part about mentorship.
Absolutely.
All right. So, and I ain't cut you off there.
No.
Okay.
I was trying to. I just ended right there.
Okay. 'Cause I'm trying to get D. She's purposely trying not to say nothing.
You gonna throw it in there?
Yeah, I'm just throwing it in there. But me and Courtney was talking earlier before the podcast started about one of the questions that we, when we get together, we sometimes put down. We have what we call show notes. So like we just put stuff down that we might possibly talk about. Mm-hmm. And Courtney brought this up, like, can mentors hurt you? So I want to start it off with D, and then of course Courtney, you could chime in. But can mentors hurt you? Because we said all positive things to this point about mentors and mentorship. Can they hurt you?
So I like that you have
Insert.
included me in this conversation.
I'm mentoring right
I
now.
was enjoying this masculine energy. when it comes to can mentors hurt you, I think in life anyone can hurt you. I think you have to operate from a place of expectations that are real. I think when you seek mentors, you can't be seeking a answer, but you have to be willing to seek guidance.
Right.
And sometimes guidance doesn't give you the answer. And so when you go in with false expectations, thinking you're going to get a answer, that's when you get disappointed in mentorship.
That's big.
When I like even going back to the Twitter discussion, I like that it said young professionals, but I think you have to be careful about just excluding or including just professionals, because sometimes professionals are not the only people that can mentor you.
Yeah.
Mentorship
That's
can
big.
really come from
Anybody.
It just has to be what type of information or wisdom are you trying to obtain. One of the things that I utilize to operate is that I can learn from anyone, no matter what setting, no matter who they are. It's depending upon what I take from that interaction and that experience. And so when you're talking about going back to the origin of the question, can mentors hurt you? They can. If you're not clear on your intentions of that mentorship. I think it was kind of funny because you all said that you stress, it seems to be a more masculine thing with the challenge in finding mentorship, because for me as a woman, when I look back over my entire experience, I've always tried to connect to someone who was in a greater position than me.
Right.
Because it was intentional practices, because I knew what I wanted to be, and I knew that I wanted to be successful, even though I didn't really understand what success meant, right? And so for me, that's something that I've always strived in. And so I cling to people who I just kind of associated with successfulness. And that now that's kind of shifted a little bit, but I think, again, as you are maneuvering through any experience, you have to just be intentional. And I think that's one of the key concepts that you all have iterated, is being intentional about who you connect yourself with.
We live and on location, but this is when I wish we had like a live audience, because you brought up a great point. I wonder if it's more masculine, that people are less willing to, or men are less willing to go out there and seek it out or ask somebody for help. Maybe it is. I don't know. I feel like it is, because you always have that sense of independence, and if you ask for help, it's almost as if, okay, are you actually being independent? Can you do better? So on. I'm using the word independence. Maybe it's another word that I need to use. But anyway.
Perhaps weakness is what you want to use?
Yeah.
Because there is that point of view where if you're trying to accomplish things and you feel like you have to ask someone for help, to some that is showing weakness. But we also have to, going back to another statement that you made, we have to understand that mentorship has many, many, many sides to it. We've got to understand, and I hope this is the place to say this, but we've got to understand that those people that are out there in the community that have legions of young men following them in a negative manner, those are mentors.
Yeah.
Those are their mentors.
So you're going to be a mentor one way or the other, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And that goes back, it can hurt you. As what Dee was saying, and not putting words in your mouth, essentially what she was saying, you got to do your due diligence. You got to vet these people. When I came into I expected people to know all about me. I want them to. I want them to know who dealing with their child. That's fair game.
Yeah.
And that I can't get mad at that. I welcome that. And mentor, when you do that, then you know what you're getting into. You know what your child will be up against. Our guys know that it's no cut, no chase. I'm gonna tell it like it is. There's no excuse. Don't believe in excuses. You either didn't do it or you did it, period, point blank. Also, when you look at it, you're trying to seek a mentor, you got to know what that person is all about. For one, all right, this guy or this lady, whoever, locks their eyes on a potential person they want to mentor, but they really got their eyes on their mama or their daddy. And so they trying to I hope I can say this, but they're trying to come in the back door, for lack of better terms, to try to get with their mom or get with their dad, and then on the back end, they don't care nothing about their kid.
Yeah.
They're using that kid for his or her athletic ability or whatever the case may be, just trying to get to the next step, and then boom, they gone. So now you done hurt that potential boyfriend, girlfriend, but more important, you don't hurt that kid.
Yeah.
Because they will get attached to you. Now, it's all in the dust.
The kid and that kid's future.
Exactly.
And society.
In society.
Because if that kid, is hurt and is devastating to the point that they take a different path down life now.
Yes.
I ain't gonna say they're menace to society, but they're detrimental to society.
And you
at
know,
some
the
point.
number one thing that is hurt now is trust.
Mm-hmm.
That kid will never trust nobody again.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
You
It make
really
it
don't have
difficult.
to work to get that kid trust back.
Yeah.
So that's something we all have to think about.
And I also think and then this is just from my perspective, a lot of what I've seen with my brothers and other males that I have been exposed to is that typically when it comes to the black males, we are okay with mentoring our boys on how to be professional athletes, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
are okay with mentoring them to pursue that alignment. But when it comes to anything else, we really don't offer that type of mentorships. We have little leagues, we have all of these things preparing them for this career path. But we don't really have mentorships of engineers. We don't have mentorships of other individuals. Well, let me correct that. In this area, that gear them to exploring life outside of that.
Right.
And I think that's a detriment to, can mentorship hurt you? Yes, because it shows you this is all that I have the ability to do. And one of the things that I feel like for my generation of young men that I saw, when we were in elementary school, I know for a fact there were some males who were very intellectual. However, they were connected to males who told them that they had the skill sets to be professional athletes. And so that became their vision. They value the individuals that were connected to them, and that became their career path. And so we get to that, and what I think they forgot to tell them is less than 2% of individuals make it to the professional field. And so, but if I'm thinking that I'm gifted and talented, right, and that's all, then we get to this point, and I get to a place of where I'm, even if I get this full ride, does not mean I'm going to the pros,
Exactly.
right? I still value this athleticism, and so when I don't make it to the pros, now everything that I've ever worked for feels like nothing. And so when I look back at some of the males from my hometown, I see them still stuck in that pro athlete that they never became. And so I think when you talk about can mentorship hurt you, it definitely can if we limit ourselves to one particular area. And that's why I think guidance is the key word into mentorship.
Right.
I don't give you an answer of who you are to become, right? I think sports and all of these things can be excellent to anyone, but in that, I have to be teaching you something other than sports. Right. If I'm not teaching you anything else other than to catch a football, my mentorship is ineffective. I'm not doing anything for you. And so,
You got to
when you,
Let the church say amen.
you have to be
Girl,
very
I'm finna come over there and
intentional.
just grab you and hug you.
But I mean,
man.
it's the realistic, because when
It
I
is.
look back, I know, and I say this wholeheartedly, I look back at so many, and they feel like complete failures, and that is what it's connected to. And it's like, no, you didn't fail, just that opportunity has passed. But you have so much more potential, but most people don't get connected to it. And this is why, we have people going into, manufacturing all these things, not because that's what they want to be or that's where they want to be. They just feel like they don't have anything else, because this is what I seen my uncle do when they didn't make it to the pros, right? And so now we have that generational show up. We got people who will show up 20, 50 deep for somebody going to the football game. Won't nobody show up to anybody for the spelling bee. You know what I'm saying? It's the same concept, right?
Yes.
Push
Yeah, it
him
is.
in this atmosphere, right? He just got accepted to this STEAM's program. Maybe grandma showed up, maybe mama showed up. But if those same 20 people that show up at that football game showed up, we'd be sending the same message to them in terms of this is how we mentor. How do I mentor if I don't have that education or if I don't have all of this? I show up and just say, you know what, I'm proud of the success that you are putting forth, and I support what you are doing. And so, I just think that that's important. I also think, and this is my last comment, that when we talk about mentorship, you have to be willing to show people your weaknesses, but know that your weaknesses are the potentials of strengths. Anything, whether you're great at it or not good enough at it, can be a weakness or a strength. Vulnerability is never weak, right? Vulnerability is acknowledgement that I have opportunity to improve, right? And so that transparency allows us to grow. And I think that's important in mentorship.
Curry, you got a collection plate?
Nah, ain't no collection plate today. I might need to start bringing one.
This sister just gave you the whole baseline of discussions.
Get into the mic.
She just gave you the whole baseline of instructions and conversations that myself, Christopher, Thomas, and Courtney had prior to the inception of Models Academy. Those are the conversations we had, because she is telling the absolute truth. Nothing irritates me more than the fact that, we'll have a Models Academy conference, and we'll always get a good number. We'll have over 100 kids, they'll come. But if we were to compete with a youth football game, we have parents who would rather their kid go to the football game with them, even if they're not playing, than come to a Models Academy meeting. Models Academy is not easy to be a part of because it's work. And we're working on your intellect. We're working on your foundation. We're working on your decision making.
She laid it out.
You just laid that out perfectly. And you are 1,000% correct. I was a major college recruited athlete. I was Mr. Everything in South Carolina down at Little Newberry High School. Player of the year, all-star, high school All-American. I had it all going on.
Yeah.
I got one scholarship. And I got to college and realized, whoa, I was a whole lot better than most of the people in Newberry, but these boys right here can play.
Right.
And the one person that went to the pros on my college team was not Steve Coleman. But by that time, through mentorship, through the people that I spoke about earlier, I'd realized, oh man, this counseling thing, this higher ed thing, this wanting to be Mr. Coleman, this wanting to be Steve Coleman, Ph.D., that kind of thing. Those are the types of things that became the centerpieces of my mind. And those are the things that I started to pursue. I wanted to make a difference, and I realized I could make a difference, but in I got a few more bounces and this ball goes flat. My mind has got to stay inflated, and we got to continue to move forward with that part of the life.
And touching on what you said too, D, not just focusing on things like athletics, but other things as well. If you don't know someone who who's in that profession or who is in that route that your child, is showing potential in, find somebody, right? Find them a mentor, right? Bringing it all back is find them a mentor in that thing, Don't make that be an excuse.
And one of the things too, and what you just said, I always just looking at one of your points down here is there's a difference between a role model and a mentor. Absolutely. One of the greatest things that I always think about, and he got raked over the coals, Charles Barkley, when he said, "I'm not your child mentor. I'm not your child role model." Excuse me. And they berated him, but they really wasn't understanding what he was saying. A role model, I see you every day. As far as I see you on TV, oh man, I want to do that. So I don't see your flaws. I see you at your best. I see you on TNT every day or every NBA season, whatnot. Okay, that's what you my role model. But I don't see your flaws. A mentor, a good mentor, you're gonna see his or her flaws. So there is a difference. There's ain't nothing wrong with someone saying that's my role model, But I think, to me, mentor is just a little bit above that, because you get to see a person's flaws. You get to see that, as you was talking about, their vulnerabilities. That's important. And, going back what Dee was saying, we box ourselves in. And one thing I always tell Isaiah, my oldest, I care less about football. I love football to death, but I care more about your education. I care less you make another taco, you make another pancake. I don't care. My job is to make sure you're educated in this world. Forget athletics.
So as we kind of come to a close, is there anything additionally that Steve, you want to add, or Courtney, you want to add about Models Academy, or any projects that's going to be coming up in the near future? And this episode will come out in February, the third weekend of February, I think it is. So, anything you got going on, popping off?
What I want people to know about Models Academy is that we are a comprehensive mentoring program. We partner with school districts because that's where the kids are. And for the reasons that Ms. D talked about earlier, one of the things we realize is that if we want to be as effective as we possibly can, if we want to maximize our efficacy in the communities and our ability to reach out to young people, we had to develop a way to do that. So rather than just be a community program, we now partner with school districts. The difference between Models Academy and other programs is that we have established partnerships with Greenwood, Lawrence, Edgefield, Abbeville, McCormick, Newberry, and Saluda counties. Models Academy serves 38 schools where we have the go-ahead and the permission of superintendents to go into the schools and meet with their students during school. We accompany that with sessions that we have over the weekends. Piedmont Tech provides us with a platform that, being a part of the institution, and let's just say that as a shout out to Piedmont Technical College. Models Academy is a Piedmont Technical College program. It has been established within the framework of the institution. So every Piedmont Tech campus in Greenwood, Lawrence, Edgefield, Abbeville, McCormick, Newberry, and Saluda is a Models Academy campus in that same community. All the technical necessities, all of the meeting spaces, the classrooms, the labs, all of that is a part of Piedmont Technical College. So the program itself will continue to grow. And outside of those meetings that we have through the weekdays at those institutions, we then have conferences, and we take them on trips, and we'll have other exploratory and growth generating exercises and experiences for those young men. So it's a comprehensive program that is part of Piedmont Technical College and the communities in all of those counties that Piedmont Technical College serves.
That's big to have reached that level where you directly in partnership with the schools. And
Sure.
That's big. Sure.
All right,
That's
Courtney,
needed.
Courtney, did you want to say anything?
Oh man, we appreciate the opportunity to come on and chop it up with you guys. It's always a pleasure to do this, and just what we are is what you see. There's no hidden agendas. And Steve he said his passion about his passion. My passion is the same. I just want to see kids do better. I want to see kids propel in life. I don't want to see kids locked up nowhere and just thrown into the system. I don't like to see that. I like to see them thriving. I like to see them when I get old and gray. Hey, you doing this? I want to see their families. So that's what it's all about. Making that impact. Can you reach all of them? No. But you can just reach that one or two, then we're doing something. And
So you're in law enforcement, Courtney? I think that's big, man. To to be in law enforcement and mentoring.
Yeah.
Because I feel like our youth need to see that positive.
Yeah.
A positive brother like yourself.
Yeah.
From our community, one of our own. reaching back and mentoring. I think that's really big.
Now, me and Dee had several many conversations. She was out there. Her office was right across from mine, and the conversations still go on. But we had thousands of conversations about this very topic, and we just got trying to do our part. And you can't talk about it; you just got to be about it. That's my philosophy of it. Oftentimes too many people talk about it, but they don't put no effort forward. So we getting the boots on the ground and do what needs to be done.
Can I add one last thing?
No,
I've looked at this.
You acting like we in church now.
Oh, well,
We're trying to end the podcast, and you keep adding.
I want to say this. Who benefits the most, the mentor or the mentee? I will tell you
Oh, wow.
that's a difficult question, because for everything that I pour into a young man, I receive a reciprocal benefit.
Come on, man.
It has become a personal life mission for me. It's a directive. So I believe that for as much as I give through this program, I get it in return. So these boys edify me as well.
So I do have one question before we transition, and that is, how do individuals who maybe have not, prior to this, been aware of Models Academy, how do individuals or their families become a part of the program? What's that process like for them to join the academy? And then, I heard you say it goes into the school and it continues with Piedmont Technical College. Where does it end? Does it end? Well, we kind of talked about that it doesn't end, but how long is that part of them being able to be a part of the program?
For me, it ends when I end. We start with young men that are fourth graders.
Okay.
And we serve the population 4th through 12, 4th grade through 12th grade. You can go to www.ptc.edu/models, and it's an enrollment form. It's not an application. You complete the enrollment form, and you're committed to the principles that are outlined. When you go to that site and read it, you can become a model, and we'll begin working with you. Awesome. There is no cost to be a model,
Period.
At all.
And the age group?
Grades 4 through 12.
4 to 12, okay.
Can a mentor join?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're always looking for mentors and mentees. Right now, we're serving over 700 boys in 7 counties.
Wow.
And that's fantastic. That's a
Kudos to
blessing.
that,
And we want it to double, triple.
Definitely.
And with the relationship, the support of Piedmont Technical College, Self-Regional is a tremendous supporter. Greenwood District 50, Steve Glenn, Beth Taylor in 52, Alvin Presley in Newberry, Terrell Barksdale and the Lawrence County School District, Bettis Preparatory Academy in Edgefield, Pastor Nathaniel Bonaparte in Saluda and the Saluda School District, the Newberry County School District, McCormick School District, Miss Jackie Rapp and the new principal and the superintendent in that county.
Y'all got your hands full.
That's why we're able to do what we do, through the help of those people. If I missed anybody, I apologize for that, but I tried to make sure I got all the counties. Abbeville County, Kaylin Rogers and Calhoun Falls Charter School. So I think that pretty much covers it.
I think so.
All right.
If we left anyone out, we're sorry.
Yeah.
Charge it to their heart, not their mind. All right. Thank y'all for coming out, being a part of the podcast. Hopefully, if there's another opportunity, we'll get to connect and do some things too. Do y'all have any closing statements?
Well, I would be amiss if I don't shout out my mentor. So,
Okay.
shout out to Miss
Shout out
Christy
everybody's mentors. Yeah.
Bird, licensed independent social worker, and human service chair of Piedmont Technical College, who has been a pioneer to my mentor, and I know she continues to mentor other women, and I am because of her, and that's it.
Well, that's what's up.
I've been mentored by so many. Like, I look to anybody for advice, but I would say my former mentors, of course, my dad. Shout out my dad, Attorney Randall Williams. Shout out Uncle Gino. Shout out.
Gino.
You know, hey, everybody knows.
Yeah.
And I mean, my mom, of course, Carla Hill. Work related, I had a mentor, y'all, that saw something in me. I wasn't even in a position of management or leadership or anything like that, but I was already doing a lot of those things. But somebody saw something in me. LaTanya Goodwin. I was working in Augusta, Georgia. She pulled me over to Thompson, Georgia. I got to shout her out because she put me on a propeller for my career, really. She told me from the very start that she was vested in my career growth. And that's what a mentor, I feel like, is all about. That's what a good leader is all about. They want to see you grow. They're looking at that end goal for you. So I got to shout her out. But so many in my life, but I got to shout those out real quick. Absolutely. And my pastor, of course, at Carter T. Peak. Gervin, you better do that.
You already know.
Same pastor.
Yes.
Oh, of course, my parents, my brothers, especially my brother that passed on, Smitty, was always a big mentor. That big brother, that's you'll never forget that. But as far as work related, you have those mentors. Of course, got this knucklehead right here, and one is Josh Lindsay. Josh is I call him that cool cat, man, and he's been his knowledge, what he has, and he's always pouring back in. But I'd be remiss, especially he was my principal in elementary school, Robert McClinton. Let me correct that, Dr. Pastor Robert McClinton. I made a post about him a while back, and Steve commented on it. Not that sweet gentleman palling people, but he gave an impact, and he's continued to be an impact, and he cared for all the kids that was up under his leadership during my elementary school years, and he just wanted to see the very best, and he continues to do that. And every time we see each other out in the community, it's nothing but good vibes, and you don't forget those things. And so, shout out to him.
Steve?
Man,
It's too many, huh?
Francis Suber, my mama. Eugene Coleman Jr., my dad. Patsy Shells, an aunt that was just a calming influence all the time. She was that aunt I could run to when Daddy was mad because she was his big sister, and I knew I was going to get off. Professionally, Mr. George Williams, Dr. Patrick C. Coggins, both of Stetson University. There's been so many mentors here that they probably never thought they were mentoring me. Chris Thomas is a mentor of mine. Courtney's a brother of mine, but I've learned quite a bit from him as well, too. And other leaders in the community, Mr. Floyd Nicholson. Many conversations that we've had, I've learned so much from him. Let me shout him out because I don't think I've ever told him that. But he's a tremendous man, tremendous leader. Gerald Witt in the community. So many others. Then there's those individuals that are your peer mentors, like a Sabrina Miller at the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
All of those types of individuals that are doing great things in the communities. Lisa Bartanis at Self Regional are people that they pour into your lives. And the one thing about mentoring is if you open yourself up to be a good mentee, it can change your life.
Mm-hmm. All right, y'all kind of put me on the spot here, but definitely want to shout out my dad, Clarence Searles, Elder. Clarence Searles, I have to say elder. My mom would get mad at me, but my mom as well. So that and kind of like you, I was extremely blessed to have a very supportive family, close knit family, and they were there, in my life for most of my life. My dad passed away early on when I was about 20. I think I was 23, but nevertheless, my dad and my mom. I want to shout out Mr. Leonard Johnson from Anderson College, who gave me a scholarship to sing on the choir, even though I couldn't sing. But that put me, even just put me on a path to be able to, I felt like I was a first generation college student. because my oldest cousin who graduated from college, he was so much older than me, I didn't really know him or see him. So being there, Mr. Leonard Johnson giving me that encouragement at the times that I was there. Also, I want to shout out he seems like a doctor by the way he command a room, but Michael Hall, when I was professionally, he gave me a lot of encouragement, a lot of advice, and I was able to advance at that particular place that I was at with him, as well as once I transitioned into therapy. I can't remember his name. I did my internship. I think I used to call him Mr. Al. But I was trying to look up his name just now, and I couldn't think of it because I haven't spoken to him since my internship. But I did like 6 months there, and I learned a lot from him, and even to the point where I have a private practice now. He was the first black male that I knew had his own private practice. Wow. And so, and he did drug court in Augusta, so I aspired to be that, and he was the first person that I saw do that. But I also want to shout out C.C. Hill, who gave me an opportunity here to do therapy and show, where it can get you and where it can lead you. And then, of course, Josh already put me on Front Street. Got to shout out my pastor, Elder Carter T.P. Because that's a big part of my life as well, going to church and learning from him. And a lot of even like the older men there at the church, the deacons and brothers there too. Oh, and one last person, Rico. Rico was my first mentor. This is my big brother.
Shout out Rico, yeah.
So, you got to give love to Big Bro.
Let me shout out my Aunt Georgianne too. Okay, I'm finished.
Wait a minute, I ain't go through the family list. I just listed one, but I got so many, so I ain't even gonna do that. But shout out to my sister, who is forever my mentor. She's the family queen. It's a lot of people. Mind you, the list could go on. I just appreciate each and every person who's ever crossed this path and thought enough to pour into me.
Absolutely.
So we were supposed to be done like 15 minutes ago, and then Steve said he had something else to say.
Well, that's why you have that's why you have editing.
Okay. All right. Anyway, call to action here. If you get a chance, you're on YouTube. Visit Let's Talk About It, a platform about questions that make you think about life, health, family, and culture, so on and so forth. And that is hosted by none other than Josh Williams down here. Subscribe to Speaking with Gravity on Facebook and Instagram. Courtney, are you subscribed to us on Facebook?
I am.
Okay. You Steve? You need to do it today.
I'm finna be.
Okay. Right. Because some of your clips are going to be on there.
Okay.
So
all right, cool.
You got to see them when they come up. If you got event needs, check out 6-1 Event Rentals. Holla at D on Kodak Ready Consultant and Gravity Counseling Group as well. Shout out to Mr. Winston. And I'm not going to keep going. Thank y'all for taking the time to listen. You could be doing anything in the world, but you chose to listen to us, and we appreciate that. So thank you. I'm a therapist, but this isn't therapy. It's a podcast.